It's Monday, December 14th, and this is now on HNN. Hawaii is gearing up to distribute its first shipment of the COVID-19 vaccine.
This is when we turn the corner.
Frontline workers become the first Americans to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm Naomi Ruckham with what's next for distribution around the country.
The people have spoken.
Electoral College members are affirming President-elect Joe Biden's win as President Trump continues to try and overturn the results. I'm Michael George in Wilmington, Delaware, with the votes coming in from across the nation.
Plus, a warning from the post office to expect delays this holiday season. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
New today from the Big Island, a magnitude 4.4 earthquake hit near Waimea. It was felt across the state at around 9:27 a.m. That's according to the USGS website. The agency says the quake was centered about 12 miles southeast of Waimea. We have not received any reports of damage at this point, and there was never a tsunami threat to the state. Again, the quake was widely felt across the islands, even as far away as Oahu. Scientists want you to be aware that aftershocks are possible and may be felt. We'll continue to monitor this story and bring you any latest developments on our HNN digital platforms.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. Let's get to those latest numbers from the State Department of Health. Health officials are reporting 190 new cases today and no new deaths. The breakdown by county shows 15 cases on the Big Island, 15 on Maui, 158 cases on Oahu, and 2 people were diagnosed out of state. Now, a major milestone in the fight against COVID-19. Some frontline healthcare workers on the mainland have now received their first dose of Pfizer's vaccine, and shipments of nearly 3 million doses are underway to states, including Hawaii. Naomi Ruckham starts our coverage.
In a live-streamed event from Long Island Jewish Medical Center, critical care nurse Sandra Lindsay was given the first dose of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine.
You didn't flinch. I take it that Dr. Chester has a good touch.
She has a good touch, and it didn't feel any different from taking any other vaccine.
Lindsay's hospital is in Queens, New York, one of the communities hardest hit when the pandemic began. She's been on the front line from the start and has a message for all Americans.
I want to instill public confidence that the vaccine is safe.
The vaccine can't come soon enough. The overall U.S. death toll is expected to hit 300,000 later today.
Vaccines on the shelf are useless, and unless a large majority of us gets vaccinated, we will not be able to control this pandemic.
The massive coordinated shipping effort began Sunday. Trucks filled with vaccine doses left Pfizer's facility in Michigan under U.S. Marshal escort. The first wave includes 2.9 million doses packed in boxes that will keep the vaccine at negative 94 degrees. Both UPS and FedEx are delivering them to 145 distribution centers in 30 cities across the country.
Operation Warp Speed is taking care of the cost of the vaccines themselves, the ancillary supplies like needles and syringes, and the cost of distributing the vaccines to jurisdictions.
First doses are also going to nursing home residents. More than 76,000 residents in long-term care facilities have died from COVID-19, and nearly 1,200 staff members. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The state's first vaccine shots will likely start on Wednesday. That's according to Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. We had a chance to talk with him today on Sunrise for an update.
So they'll come in sometime in early afternoon, just afternoon, keeping that a little bit from becoming a big spectator sport because we want them to do their job. Then they'll go over to Queens Hospital or other facilities, and we'll be checking them very carefully. We have a CDC representative coming in to also be supportive.
Okay, so all the reports we've been getting, we're getting maybe 80,000 to 90,000 in this first phase of vaccination. What time do you expect this to happen as far as the actual giving of shots? Do you expect to be first thing in the morning going into hospitals and administering those?
Yes, I think that we'll probably see the first shots going into people's arms on Wednesday would be my guess.
Okay.
We're working on closed pods. That means over at the hospitals, because as you have explained very thoroughly, 1A category is hospitals and healthcare workers and people in long-term care facilities, our Punahou, who are vulnerable. So it'll be throughout the days. People will be getting appointments, and these facilities will take care of the 1A designation.
Who determined how many doses we got? Was that a federal directive?
It is a federal directive based on population, so it's meant to be fair to every state. We're going to be fair to every county. It's a giant lift, but our goal will be to get everyone vaccinated that chooses to. It's going to be a purely voluntary process, and that is really important for people to remember.
Okay, how about this? How do you know when to move into the next phase of vaccination? At least, especially with phase one, do you plan on tracking down doctors or healthcare workers to make sure that as many of them as possible have gotten it before you move on to the second phase?
Well, there's a lot of personal responsibility. We held 2 meetings last week. One had 650 and the next had 1,700 healthcare providers all on like a Microsoft Teams call. It's an unbelievable gathering, and everyone is aware now that the vaccine is coming, not just because of those meetings, but because of you and your good work. So this is all meant to be a wide open, transparent process. We're asking physicians to connect to their facilities that are near them, independent physicians, nurses, healthcare clinics, everybody. But that's 1A, all healthcare workers and everyone around them. And then we will be able to do some of this in parallel. When we've given the first vaccination to people in that group, if we have extra, say 10 days subsequently, then we'll move into 1B and 1C, and then ultimately even into phase 2. But we hope to get a lot of vaccine here, not just from Pfizer, but Moderna's next, and then other partners.
Yeah. Are we at any disadvantage as far as getting the vaccination because of how far removed we are from the continent?
Just the added small difficulties of flying highly volatile vaccine that has to be kept at under 70 degrees below zero over a 3,000 mile ocean. But other than that, we are completely the same as everybody else.
Pfizer's CEO says the first doses of its COVID-19 vaccine could, quote, have an impact already. Dr. Sanjay Gupta spoke with him today on CNN.
How quickly can you manufacture this vaccine? Do you think about this on a per week scale, per day scale? Give us some context here.
Yeah, it is true. And actually, this year we will have around 50 million doses available, of which most of them have already been manufactured. So the doses are there available. Next year, we will do 1.3 billion doses. And of course, those numbers are global. For example, from the 50 million doses that we are going to manufacture this year, approximately half will be allocated to the US and half to the remaining of the world.
So roughly 25 million doses here in the United States, 25 million around the world. And what about next year? You say over 1 billion doses next year. That's a phenomenal number. What percentage of that will be in the United States manufactured versus around the world? And what number will be available in the United States versus around the world?
Yeah, it's, as I said, more than one, you are right, 1.3 billion doses. And we are working very diligently to increase this number because we understand that the demand is very high. We are having one manufacturing line here in the US involving 3 manufacturing sites. Kalamazoo is the last end of them, but we have one in Wisconsin and one in Massachusetts. And we have another manufacturing line in Europe, Belgium, Puurs, and in Germany, 2 manufacturing sites involving also our partner BioNTech. It's approximately half-half, a little bit more are produced in Europe. The European manufacturing site has higher capacity than Kalamazoo, but we are maxing capacity on both sides.
And from what my understanding is, sir, is that for next year, 100 million doses will be actually being administered here in the United States. So that means, according to what you're saying, that 1.2 billion roughly will be administered in other countries around the world. Am I hearing that right?
So far, we have an agreement with the U.S. government to provide them 100 million doses, and this is a fixed order. And we will provide those 100 million doses starting from now by the end of the first quarter. And we will honor this commitment. But the U.S. government is asking more. They have asked now an additional 100 million doses from us. We are trying to, we can provide them the additional 100 million doses, but right now most of that we can provide in the third quarter. The U.S. government wants them in the second quarter, so we are working very collaboratively with them to make sure that we can find ways to produce more or allocate the doses in the second quarter as well. But we haven't signed this agreement yet.
Japan will suspend its go-to-travel subsidy as the country battles a winter wave of COVID-19. The plan offered travelers up to 50% discounts on transportation, hotel, and tourist attractions in an effort to restart the economy. The Prime Minister said today that the program will be suspended nationwide from December 28th through January 11th. He also announced a monthly support payment for hospitality businesses to help owners comply with the shortening of hours. Now to South Korea, where the government says it's considering enforcing its toughest level of social distancing rules if the rise in cases continues. Officials reported 718 new coronavirus cases on Monday, which takes the country's total to 43,484. That includes 587 deaths. About 65% of the new cases were found in Seoul, an area which has been the center of the recent spike. In an effort to curb the spread, South Korea is opening dozens of free coronavirus testing sites. Now to developing news from Africa. A huge military operation is underway right now in Nigeria to rescue hundreds of students who were kidnapped from their school. Ian Lee reports.
Usama Aminu is one of the lucky ones. He escaped a terrifying attack on his school Friday. Gunmen on motorcycles armed with AK-47s stormed the boarding school at night, kidnapping hundreds of students. When I decided to run, they brought a knife to slaughter me, but I ran away quickly, he recalls. They couldn't get me. Many students ran as a gunfight broke out between the attackers and security forces. The all-boys school is home to roughly 800 students. Half of them are missing.
Our last prayer is to see that our children are back.
This father says our only prayer is to see that our children are returned safely. The school is now empty. The chaos of that night is frozen in time. Government troops believe they have the gunmen surrounded in a nearby forest. While no one has claimed responsibility for the kidnappings, authorities blame bandits looking for a ransom. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Today, members of the Electoral College will officially cast their votes for president. Each state has its own schedule, and Hawaii's 4 electors will vote today at 2 p.m. We spoke to one of them today on Sunrise.
But in Hawaii, what happens is if you have a presidential nominee that will show up on the general ballot, each of those parties will select a slate of electors. And typically there's the electors themselves, and there's some alternate levels. For myself, I was elected by the state convention for the Democratic Party of Hawaii, along with my fellow electors. And once that happened, we sort of knew by then that Joe Biden would be the nominee. But really, our responsibility, our kuleana, would be to vote for whoever the Democratic presidential and vice presidential nominee is.
Today's events are a standard part of the election process, but this year there's more attention on it because President Trump still refuses to concede. Michael George reports.
The people have spoken.
Today, the Electoral College will officially affirm President-elect Joe Biden's win as electors cast their ballots in state houses across the nation.
I have 9 votes cast for Donald J. Trump as president for South Carolina.
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have cast 20 votes for the Honorable Joseph R. Biden.
Among those casting their votes for Mr. Biden are several states that were contested by the Trump campaign, including Georgia, where Biden became the first Democrat to win in 28 years.
I am pleased to announce that Joseph R. Biden has received 16 votes for President of the United States.
Also, Wisconsin, where the state Supreme Court just rejected a lawsuit challenging the election results.
We made it.
The president-elect spent the day here in Delaware, receiving the presidential daily intelligence briefing and meeting with his transition officials. President Trump is vowing to continue his fight against the election results. Trump campaign senior advisor Stephen Miller on Fox News Channel Monday.
We have more than enough time to right the wrong of this fraudulent election result and certify Donald Trump as the winner of the election.
Over the weekend, hundreds of the president's supporters gathered in Washington to denounce Biden's victory, and some of of the demonstrations turned violent. A new CBS News poll finds 82% of Trump supporters do not consider Joe Biden's win legitimate. Yet overall, 62% of the nation's voters feel the election is over and settled. Michael George, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
The U.S. Postal Service is warning of potential shipping delays. Mailrooms across the country are seeing a huge increase in packages. They're also dealing with an employee shortage due to the virus. Now, if you have packages for international or overseas military destinations, try to get them in the mail by today. And remember, tomorrow is the deadline for first class and priority mail addressed to the mainland.
The owners of Cleveland's baseball team says they're changing their name but will play as the Indians at least through the 2021 season. Cleveland is one of many teams and schools across the country switching their name or mascot in this campaign against racism. Jerika Duncan has more.
We're never trying to be disrespectful. And I still feel that way. But I don't think that's a good enough answer today.
That was Cleveland manager Terry Francona in July, saying he believed it was time for his team to move forward from its longtime Indians nickname. Now it seems that time has come.
We've been engaged in those conversations over the course of the last several months.
2 weeks ago, team president Chris Antonetti confirmed his club had been reevaluating its name, a process that appeared to begin shortly after the Washington NFL team, formerly known as the Redskins, dropped its name over the summer. Following Washington's announcement, Cleveland released a statement pledging to keep improving on issues of social justice with its team name in mind. This isn't Cleveland's first time confronting controversial parts of its team history.
It feels really good that steps are being taken, that our voices are being heard.
Philip Yenyo is executive director of the American Indian Movement of Ohio. He led several protests against the team's longtime Chief Wahoo logo, which Cleveland officially removed at the start of the 2019 season.
Once Chief Wahoo went away, I just think it was the rock was rolling down the hill and it wasn't going to be stopped.
Jack Horgan spent 17 years as Cleveland's television announcer and grew up there as an Indians fan.
I think there's an awareness of trying to find something that is appealing to all and offensive to none. I commend Major League Baseball for looking at the process, because if there are enough people who think that it is demeaning, it's something that needs to be addressed.
Jerika Duncan, CBS News.
Thank you, Jerika. We want to switch gears here just a little bit, take you outside, because those trade winds are back. How long will they last? Here's Guy Hoggy.
How's it on this Monday? We have beautiful trade wind weather today and tomorrow. And then starting on Wednesday, look for moisture to come in from the north and come in from the south. That's going to converge on the state on both ends, and we'll see increasing showers, maybe even some heavy spots of rain for the east end of the state. But that's not until Wednesday. This morning, you can see very little rain out there, mostly dry conditions, and the trade winds slow in coming back. They'll be running at steady speeds today. We're thinking they'll get up to about 10 to 20 miles an hour by midday, if not a little bit later than that. And those trade winds will run firm through tomorrow. Now, as far as the surf, it's still pretty good size up in the country, below advisory levels. Another reinforcement is due in tonight, 8 to 14 feet. So that's dangerous for those inexperienced in large surf. So stay away if you cannot handle 3 to 5 down on the east side. That's going to be pretty choppy. So again, beautiful, calm conditions through tomorrow with the trade winds strengthening, and then increasing moisture coming in. More showers expected Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday looks especially wet and especially windy. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Well, the internet was sort of canceled this morning overnight. Well, at least Google. It's recovering after a massive outage, and this impacted a bunch of folks and a bunch of platforms, including YouTube, Google Docs, and Gmail. Yikes! The outage was also impacted Google Classroom, so imagine trying to be a teacher on the mainland when this was all going on overnight for us. All the services are coming back online, though, it appears. Speaking of Google and trends, check out this map and look closely, because the career website Scipia compiled search trends using Google to see what everyone's favorite holiday treats are.
Interesting.
Yeah, and guess what? Our state, Hawaii, loves Oreo cheesecake, specifically Oreo cheesecake.
Oreo cheesecake.
Yeah, which is my favorite flavor when I go to Cheesecake Factory. 20 states had taste to compile. A lot of them like cookies, 10 of them exactly. Wyoming picked eggnog, yuck. Some time to time I'll do some eggnog. Both Carolinas picked fruitcake. Fruitcake.
I don't know, Carolinas. What's up with that?
I know, it must be a regional tradition. I just got my care package from my grandma and my mom. Regional treat from Southern Illinois. They're called peanut rolls. Delicious.
Peanut allergy.
Yeah, you can't. I was going to bring you some. Sorry.
It's okay. Speaking of sweet things, you guys, Popeyes is adding something sweet to its menu. So starting today, the fried chicken chain is now offering New Orleans-style chocolate beignets. So the deep-fried pastry is stuffed with melted Hershey's chocolate and doused in powdered sugar, and customers can purchase 3, 6, or a dozen for $1.99, $3.99, and $7.49 respectively. So the company says the dessert received strong reviews in October when they were market tested in Boston and Baltimore.
From the picture, it looks like mostly powdered sugar.
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
Which I love.
I try them.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You guys, Target has extended its store hours for holiday shoppers. So USA Today reports most Target stores will now be open at 7 a.m. and close at midnight starting this week. However, most will close at 8 p.m. local time on Christmas Eve. So hours can vary by location and are listed on the store locator at Target.com. And the retailer has limited its special hours for seniors and at-risk shoppers on Tuesday. Walmart extended its hours last month, with most locations closing at 11.
I was at the mall this weekend. Target and the rest of the mall looking really busy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, back in action for sure. Not as busy as it would be typically at holiday season, but most of the stores were lined up outside. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. We've almost made it halfway, right? We got a press conference coming up with Kurt Caldwell at 1:30. We will stream that to you most likely on our H&N digital platforms. And now we have a special treat for our Good News Now, right, Ash?
That's right. Punahou School recently released a video on YouTube with their take on a classic Christmas song. The production includes more than 70 students along with alumni and school staff members under the direction of Mr. Craig Young. Enjoy, everyone.